Hi, good morning, and welcome to all of you in Ansible session 3. I'm Nitin. So, in last session, we wrote a playbook to enable SSL authentication or on Nginx web server. Okay, so this was my playbook which we wrote in my last session. So, I got one query from some of my participants. The query is, what is use of handler? Why we are using handler? So why we can't use just a task to restart Nginx web service? See, if that is fine, that is totally fine. If we include a task to just restart Nginx web service, that is totally fine. It will restart your Nginx web service. But what is the use of restarting web server again and again when we are not updating any configuration file? Okay. See, suppose this is your configuration file, deforge.com, and after updating this configuration file, okay, and you are having a task to restart your nginx web service. So first time when you will execute your playbook, then it is fine because it will update your configuration file. But next time, if suppose you are executing this playbook again, then there will be no any difference between your default.conf file which is in your template and which is there on your remote server, right? So there is no any change, even though because you do have a task to restart your nginx web service, it will restart your nginx web service, right? So there is no any use of restarting the services again and again. So that's the reason we used notify and handler here. So what it will do, it will just restart my nginx web service only when there is a change in the configuration file. I hope it is clear now. So in today's session, I will explain two things. One is, I will explain multiple ways of different servers in your inventory. And second, I will explain different ways of declaring your variable in Ansible. Okay. So let's talk about inventory first. Okay. So in inventory, let's open your inventory first. Okay. I do have hosts. This is the file name. Okay. So this is my inventory. So first of all, in this current inventory, we used IP address, right? So instead of using IP address, we can use host name if DNS is enabled, right? Or we do have entry in etc host file. Then we can use host name instead of IP address. Okay, so that is first thing. Second, Ansible, there is one important point. Ansible automatically adds local host to the inventory file by default. Okay, so you will not be able to see it, and this is the manual inventory which you have created. But Ansible understands that local host refers to your local machine. Okay, so it will interact with it direct into SSH. So when you are, suppose you are going to manage your Ansible control host using Ansible, right? So we can manage it, right? Like in Puppet or stuff, you can manage the same server, which is, which is your server, okay, which is your Puppet server, which is your Chef server. So we can manage the same server as well, right? So in Ansible also we can manage we can change the configuration, we can update the things, we can, do all the stuff, configuration management, orchestration, everything on our control machine as well. Okay. So let me execute one. See, I'm executing one command, okay, without specifying inventory file. Okay. So as Ansible automatically add local host to the inventory file by default. Okay. So it should execute this, you can say this task for local host. Okay. So I'm just saying here, Ansible, I'm not defining any inventory. Okay. Ansible localhost hyphen m. Let us suppose I just wanted to run a uname hyphen a command. Okay. So it will run. Okay. There is no any entry as localhost in your inventory file, even though it is running with a warning saying that provided host list is empty. only local host is available. Okay, so now we can see that there is one entry, there is one, local host entry, which is by default in the inventory file. Okay, so this is the second thing about inventory. And next is, next is about disabling the authenticity. So suppose I do have, in my current environment, I do have three servers. Okay, so this is my control machine, and this is my production, this is my dev. So let's see the IP address of this machine. So let's try to connect your production server from your Ansible host. So I'm able to connect it, right? So if you are connecting any new server from any other server, okay, so it will ask for the authenticity. It will create a non-host file initially. Okay, so I also do have one non-host file at this location. So let's do one thing. What I'll do, I will remove this non-host file, or I will do what, I will just rename this non-host file so that it will ask for authenticity. Okay, okay. Let's try to connect to your web prod server once again. And one more thing I would like to know you guys, that I have updated my host file with IP address of prod as well as dev server. Okay, so now I can just use production server. Okay, if you will connect to the production server through SSH, you can just say prod server here. Okay, so now it is asking for adding this server to the non-host file, right? Okay, so let's say no here, and let's run any playbook now, or let's run any Adobe Play. Let's say ping. Okay. I do have prod. Okay, so I have to say prod as a group, not server. So is it connecting? No, it is not connecting, right? So because the server is not added to the non-host. Okay, so to if you are adding new servers, and if you are controlling new server through Ansible, so every time your Ansible playbook will get stuck here, right? So to get rid of this issue, so what you can do, there is a configuration file of Ansible. You can just go to that file, and there is a variable set here, host underscore key underscore checking is equal to false. So you can just enable this, okay, and save and exit. There is no need to restart anything. Okay, go to your playbook once again and run a Adobe ping module. It's working now. Okay, so this way you can disable the authenticity. Okay, because you may keep on adding new servers in your environment. So when you will be connecting to the new server, so it will ask, initially it will ask for authenticity, and that time your playbook will get stuck. Okay, so you can get rid of this issue by just enabling that entry in your ansible.cfg file. Okay, so let's talk about some variables which we can define in our inventory file. So there are some inbuilt variable which you can define in your inventory file. So this is my inventory file as of now. I have already specified one of the inbuilt variable, that is Ansible underscore SSH underscore user. So I'm connecting to dev server, that is 4483. Okay, so when Ansible is connecting to this server through SSH, it is using concern as a user. Okay, so it is not using Ansible. By default, it will take Ansible, But for this server, for dev server, it will take consent. So it will not, not log in like this. Okay. Even you will not be able to log in, right? Because there is no Ansible user on my dev server. Okay. So it will connect using consent user. See, you are able to connect, right? So that's the reason I have specified Ansible underscore SSH underscore user. And there are a few more things which you can define, like if suppose you are running your SSH on different port, then there is a variable called Ansible underscore SSH underscore port. So that variable you can define in along with your server in the inventory. Okay. And also you can define, password also. So you can say Ansible underscore SSH underscore pass. So there are many inbuilt variable which you can refer from Ansible documentation. Okay, so you will get a lot of variables there, and you can make use of those variable in your playbook. Now let's talk about something more about inventory. So suppose you are having a lot of servers, okay, hundred or thousands of servers, and servers are named like Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, Web 4, or Dev 1, Dev 2, Dev 3, and so on. So instead of instead of adding all the server one by one, you can just say here have 150. Let us say we do have 50 servers, and you can say example.com. Okay, so this way, we have defined 50 servers within a single line. Okay, so it will consider this entry as 50 servers. Okay, dev 1, dev 2, dev 3, up to dev 50. Okay, so we can do like this also. Let's remove it because we do not have that server. So this is all about creating manual inventory. I will talk about dynamic inventory in the session when I will launch AWS EC2 instance using Ansible playbooks. So this is all about manual inventory. Okay, so now let's talk about multiple ways to define variable in your playbooks. Okay, so there are multiple ways in which you can define, in which you can declare your variable. So the simplest way is you can define your variable in your main playbook. So my playbook was, let us suppose, nginx. So in this playbook, I had already defined two variables here, right? So you can define the variable within your main playbook. Okay. Or second is what you can do. You can just say here underscore files. Okay. And you can just give a reference to the file here. You can just say nginx vars.yml. Okay. And just copy these two lines. Nginx, sorry. So let's save it. Okay, nginx dot yml. So I can define those two variables here within a file. Okay, and we can give the reference of that file within my main playbook. So that is how we can define the variables. So let's execute your playbook once again and see if it is all working fine or not. Different hosts, then next run it with hyphen check option. So it says that hyphen host colon all here. So there is something which is wrong in my playbook. Okay. Ah, so it should be var underscore files. I should fails here. Okay. So files, okay, var underscore files. Let's run it once again. Was not found. What I defined, it is nginx. Do we have nginx versions? Oh, it is not there. I think wrong name here. Yeah, it is. Let's rename it. Okay. Okay. Now let's run your playbook once again with hyphen hyphen check option. It is running, right? So we can do, we can include all the variable in a separate YML file and give the reference of that YML file in my main playbook. Okay. So this is another way to, declare your variable. Let's talk about registering your variable. So how can we register the value of variable and use it later in my playbook? So let's create one, uh, separate playbook. Let's suppose var.yml. Okay. Start it with 3 dashes. Let's say host prod. Okay, I'm going to run it on prod server. Say become is equal to yes. Say tasks name. Okay, so let's suppose I'm running a command here. Run a command, and I'm running the module as command. Okay, I'm saying here, let's suppose uname hyphen n. Okay. So it will get the, host name of my server, and let's register this variable. Let's register the value of the, or you can say output of this task to a variable. And let's suppose the variable name is server. Okay, so now uname hyphen n command will run on your production server. Okay. Okay, and it will be registered to the variable server. Now we can use the value of variable server later in my playbook. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's print the value of this variable in my playbook itself. Value of variable. So there is another module to print the value of variable. So we can use debug here. So debug is used to print the value of variable. Okay. So you can say server here. Okay. And let's save and exit your playbook. Hyphen AI and hosts, and you can say var.yml hyphen hyphen check. Okay, check. Yeah, it is working fine. Okay, and yeah. So now run it once again. See, the command uname hyphen n was run on my remote server, and it has got the output as this, right? So it will show all the values, right? It will show you start, it will show you standard error, standard output, std outlines, warnings. Okay, so if suppose you want to, you just want this output, right? Prod server, you are not interested to get the value of standard error, or start, or standard output lines. So you are just interested to know the standard output. So what you can do, you can just open your playbook once again. Okay, and here you can say that server.std out. So this way it will just print you the value of server.std out. Okay, see, it is showing you the host name of your production server. Okay, so this is how we can print the value of variable, and we can register the variable. Okay. So there is one other way also, which you can print the value of your variable. Let me show you that also. So this is one way. Again, you would be using debug as the module. Debug. Okay. And again, you would say var, or this time you would say message is equal to, suppose you want to print some message also along with the output. Okay, so that time you can use this msg clause. Okay, and now you can say server name is, enclose your variable name here within the brackets, save and exit, playbook once again. It will show you the message also. It will show server name is production server. Okay, so if you need just the value of variable, then you can use var is equal to your variable name. Okay, and if you want to print some message also, okay, then you can use msj clause. Okay, so these are the two ways. Next is let's talk about some, let's print some value from Ansible fact. Okay, let's do one thing. I'm interested to print a value from my facts. Print the fact value. Okay, so let us suppose I want to print the release. Okay, or distribution, you can say. Okay, so what I would say, Java distribution is Ansible underscore distribution, enclose it into the brackets. Okay, so Ansible underscore distribution is not the variable which you declared, right, or you registered, right? So where it will come from? It will come from setup module, which Ansible will run by default, and this is the Ansible fact. Okay, so let's run it once again. See, it says red hat. Okay, so we can print the value of fact, Ansible fact. Okay, so this is all about registering the variable and printing the output. Now I will talk about, a host var. So this is one of the important built-in variable which we will use in our playbooks, uh, you know, frequently. So this is one of the most inbuilt variable in Ansible. It is host vars. Okay, so let's use this variable. So open your playbook once again. So what is, let me remove all this, or what I'll do, I will keep this part as it is. Okay. And let us say I'm going to create one more task for dev hosts. Okay. Here you can say become yes tasks. So this is separate for dev servers. Okay. So let's create first task for dev server. Let us suppose I can take any task, like let us say host name of the server. Okay, so how can you get the host name? You can get the host name with Ansible facts. Okay, so how, very easy. Again, you can use message. Okay, you can say my host name is Ansible underscore node name. Okay, so this way it will show you the host name of the dev server. Okay, let's run your playbook once again. Now it is Now there is a play for dev server which is running, and it says that my host name is dev server. Okay, so first thing, let's make use of hostvars. Okay, so that is inbuilt variable of Ansible. Suppose, you know, if we want to print the value of server, okay, which we registered in my play for production in my host group, in my dev play. Okay, so what is the method? Like, because see, the scope of the variable which you are going to register is within the host. It cannot go to the second host. Let's do one thing. Let's say uh, value of variable server is, okay, print the value of variable server. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I have declared a variable server. I have registered a variable server within the play for production group. Okay. Now I'm going to print the value of the server variable in my other play, which is for dev. Let's see if it will run or not. Yeah, it says that variable is not defined. As I said, the scope of the variable is within the host. Okay, it is within the host. But sometime there may be some task which you are running, and you may need the value, you may need the, value of the registered value variable which you declared or which you registered in your other play, or you can say play for other groups. Consider the scenario where you need to create a configuration file on web server that contains the IP address of ETH1, or you can say Ethernet 1 interface of the database server, and you don't know in advance what this IP address is. So that may be the situation. Okay, so in those scenarios, we can use hostvars. Okay, so the syntax for using hostvar is hostvars. Mm, you can just say here IP address of your other machine. Okay, the IP address was what was the IP address? Okay, production. It was 6211. Let's copy this output, copy the IP address here, and here you can say server dot std out. So this way, it will show you, or it will print the value of variable server in this play. Okay, which is for dev group. So let's say execute your play once again. Okay, so it's working, right? So it says that host was this, and prod server, right? So I'm getting the output. So this is the use of host was variable. So that is inbuilt variable